Welcome to the book launch of The Glass is Full and a Half, the book that I wrote to compile my 35 years of experience as a consultant working with professional athletes, corporate executives, and people in the arts, and to essentially put together a model that explains what I've been doing through my life, but also to give meaning to the concept of breakthrough. The title describes a metaphor, a provocation that brings forward the example, which is well known, of is the glass half empty? Is it half full? And some people cannot actually go beyond that, or we have seen in many instances, we see humor coming up after that dichotomy. But I decided to craft a new perspective, which is that the glass is neither half full nor half empty, it's actually full and a half, because that mental operation allows us to engage with creativity. One thing is to describe what is, and we will be searching for truth. Is it or is it not? And the other one is to try to define what can be or could be. So my definition of breakthrough is that breakthrough is seeing intentionally the glass as full and a half. And that puts us in another level of perception, in another level of understanding that I can actually design the future. I can actually design what's not there, what cannot be seen. So my life has been marked by this approach because I grew up in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and through most of my life, we did not live in democracy. We had 17 years of dictatorships, and that created an environment in which you had to comply. You could see the world the way that the dictatorships wanted you to see it, or you had to get out, or you would pay a high price, even with your life, if you confronted their mindset. I was never comfortable with this because I grew up in a family of high achievers. We have a Lebanese branch in my family and a French branch, and both families, as immigrants, they tried to embrace intellectual development. My parents are doctors in chemistry. We have many PhDs in my family because that was the way to escape the flatness of opportunity that they would have, and because education was also free or inexpensive, and then you had to devote your life to not only developing your profession, but also contributing in different ways to give back. With that framework, I think that I absorbed this passion for learning and understanding and improving and going to the next level, not only economically, but also looking out, looking towards the world. And I've seen over the years many international professionals come to my house. My parents work with scientists, with entrepreneurs, with PhDs in corporations in chemistry, that developed new products and new approaches. And I was always fascinated by their stories, by the different lifestyles, by the costumes that they would describe. And in particular, with my Uncle George, who traveled a lot, and because he was very capable and made connections between scientists in Argentina and the UK, he was knighted. He became an OBE, and he really signaled that there were no limits for us, for my brother, for my cousins, for our generation to continue exploring. So they also describe the glasses full and a half. And we studied with my brother. I studied medicine 6 years. My brother studied economics. But at some point, the economic situation was so bad. There was about 300% inflation per month after democracy returned after 1983, that although we were working with tennis pros, we had our own company by then, we continued to study, we could not make money. We were very busy. We had a lot of commitments, but there was no reward, and we could not keep our staff satisfied. In a way, success was penalized by that level of inflation. So I had all along admired Dennis Van der Meer, which I consider the best tennis pro in the world, the teacher of teachers. And I made a point to be certified by him. And it was at that time that I called him and I said, look, maybe you can give me an opportunity to work together and see how I can move to another market. And he said yes. So in 1985, I moved to Hilton Head Island, in South Carolina, and I worked with him in developing new approaches, new areas, mostly in Europe, to get tennis pro certified in his method. One day, I met Dr. Jim Lair, sports psychologist, and he was developing his own approach with mental toughness training, which became ultimately one of the greatest advancements in tennis. And it was when Gabriela Sabatini wanted to quit in 1990 in April because she was actually burning out, that we were able to collaborate, train her mentally, and she won the US Open in September, just 5 months. It was a Cinderella transformation, a Cinderella story. The world paid attention, our phone started ringing, and that opened the door not only to the higher levels of tennis worldwide. We could tour, and we could also work with other sports. Golfers were calling, and many professionals and executives were also calling. So that opened our path towards working with the corporate executive world, for which we moved to Saddlebrook Resort in North Tampa that could accommodate traffic from sports and also the corporate world. They had about 100,000 people coming through every year. It was good visibility, and we had the proper facilities. So that leap from tennis to the corporate world based on the mental toughness training approach was significant for me. It allowed me to bring together what I knew from medicine, my passion for entrepreneurship, my passion for international travel and experiences, and work in a new field, because Jim was proving that emotions matter, that there is an ideal performance state, that we can access it through physical means, training, to become flexible, strong, resilient. But at the same time, there were certain approaches that work very specifically to make you tough under pressure. And that peak performance and mental toughness were learned behaviors, and that you could learn them almost like an actor by doing it with your body and connecting to the emotions that you need to feel, but testing them under pressure. And that was a art. How do you test under pressure? To when it really matters, you can respond on cue. You can respond uh, immediately and appropriately and execute when it matters most, when there is, for a sports person, a lot of money on the line, or when you need to persuade someone and that's your main opportunity, you might not get another one. How do you train as an athlete for life, actually? So over time, as I continued to work in tennis, and I had opportunities to manage large operations and experiment with many marketing approaches to make the sport bigger, I also identified the opportunity to engage with professionals that wanted to go to a higher level of performance. A friend of mine from Switzerland paid attention, and he invited me to join him in Zurich and work with his best people. I started with the presentation. I moved to work with a specific division, his division. They excelled that year. They got great results. The word got out, and the entire bank learned about this opportunity. So I was invited to design large events to introduce peak performance concepts to them, to everybody in the bank in Switzerland. And little by little, it permeated the culture, and the entire bank understood that each individual could see themselves as a person in training. They did not need to be a sports person, but they could effectively understand the steps and the daily approach, the seasonality of their training to do it for life. So with that platform, and as my friend moved to other banks and higher positions, we continued to collaborate. And looking back, I could see that the story was getting more complex, more interestingly woven, and that I had many examples of how, when we commit to seeing the glass as full and a half, and we create stepping stones towards our goals, suddenly we not only feel that we can lead ourselves, but that we can lead others. And there is a key concept in all this. The concept that unites sports and businesses. You do not need to train to manage time. You manage energy before you manage time. So the lens that you use to, for example, look at your week is, which are the tough days that I'm going to have? Can I find pockets of recovery within that level of stress? Can I do it hourly? Can I do it by segments? For example, at lunch, I take a break. Can I do it in other days of the week? In days, for example, that are not too tough, I can call them buffer days. I can use my time to plan. I can use my time to learn, to network, to envision, to plan. And I also need to protect my free days. That is my recovery time. And as we know from sports, all the benefits come from recovery. because recovery leads to supercompensation, is when the body says, wait, maybe I get hit again tomorrow and I need to be prepared. So all the systems get ready for more. They create capacity. The same thing happens if we create stress and recovery waves through the week, through the day, even through each hour. So the second concept is make waves. Manage energy rather than time and make stress and recovery waves, which leads to the third concept, that is act the behavior that you want to feel. Act the behavior that will make you a peak performer. Act behaviors that are your ideal performance state. The athletes define the ideal performance state as a state in which many of them say there is a quiet moment. They are in the present, they don't feel any pressure, they might be under extreme conditions, but they enjoy it, and they enjoy the fight, they enjoy the challenge. They do not walk away from the tension, from the provocation, from having to design a solution. They jump into the fire, but they also know when to jump off. They also know that after they go through the struggle, they need to recover. So after about 20 years, and after having succeeded with Gabriela Sabatini, we helped also Sergi Bruguera, went to French Opens, became number 3 in the world in tennis. There was the speed skater Dan Jansen, who won the gold medal in 1994 in Lillehammer. And working with Swiss private banks and doctors, people in construction, and other athletes as well, I realized peak performers actually do 4 things to live in breakthrough, to create a breakthrough mindset. Number 1, they imagine. They imagine themselves at a much higher level of performance, at least 300% more than today. That allows them to connect their thinking, feeling, and acting to today and start living today as if they're living in the future. So they create stepping stones. And then that's when the second aspect begins, which is improve. Imagine connects to improve, because to realize my 300% or more goal, I need to train. I need to improve. I need to re-engineer, redesign, adapt, discard, and I need help, especially from experts. So I'm willing to go through this process, never mind the complexity, because I know that this is the way. And after a while, when I get some success, when I know not only that I would like to do it, but I can do it, I start getting feedback. I can get it from my body, from the data, from the revenue. Other people start calling, other people start saying, I like what you're doing. Can I join you? May I invest? Where are you going with this? I'd like to associate with you, partner. We can do bigger things together. These type of references start to appear. So I suddenly realized I have entered inspire. Imagine, improve. Now I'm in inspire stage. And this is when I also realized that by going in the direction of my dream, that I had envisioned, my 300% goal, I start to find other options. Other options start to appear, and I have to consider them, because those might be, at least one of them could be, the real direction, the real destiny of my quest, just because I align the factors in such a way. And when I achieve my goal, I reach the level of ignite, because now I can invite others to the quest. Now I can give the Sermon on the Mountain. I've been there, I've done it, I can tell you how I did it, I can tell you how we could do it. It's an invitation to partner as well, but from you, because you might have identified that the quest and the growth can now take you to 3,000%, for example, and you need the right people with you, the ones who understand how you build a we through trust, and that in joining you, we can all win. So the glass is full and a half, the book addresses a bit of my history, how I arrived to this point in which I felt that I had something to say, I had something to share. And what I discovered was that there is a way of looking at life, at the world, at the design of your life that involves 4 steps: imagine, improve, inspire, ignite, and that not only you can replicate it, but you can teach others to replicate, and that all great things that have been done before us might have involved these steps. So what I do is, first I look at my life and I look at the lessons learned in a specific chapter, and I break down those lessons because they also form these 4 aspects, these 4 eyes, these 4 lenses that allow you to create breakthrough, to go higher, to go farther, to do it differently, to do it better. And then I look at my mentors. I have very special mentors, people who in just a few lessons, some of them in long friendships with others, have influenced my thinking because they portray the 4 stages, but also they live their values in a very specific way, and you can actually track their transformation, and they inspire, they ignite. They have created things that at one point they never imagined would be possible, and people recognize that. That's important, that at the ignite level you get the feedback that says, thank you for inspiring me, and now I am going to start my quest. I will stand on your shoulders, but I'm going to move the limits of knowledge, of achievement, of meaning and significance in this quest. So, lessons learned, the mentors, and especially I devote a long chapter to looking back and understanding what is my quest through different stages of my life. It's called the lifeline. It's a very well-known exercise in consulting, but it's not easy to do, but it's very worthwhile doing it. It's very gratifying when you look back and you realize that there are different phases, and each phase is marked by a decision or an event that took you to the next one, and that you can interpret or reinterpret looking back, understand the meaning, understand that perhaps it made you or it pushed you or pulled you in a different direction, and why, who was involved, and what were the results. Were they positive or negative? So when you look back at the whole lifeline, you can see the segments, you can see the jumping off points, you can see if your line goes up or down, and And then I asked, okay, that's a lifeline chronologically, and I can see events, but what if I overimpose these four stages of imagine, improve, inspire, and ignite? So through that layer, I got to a different level of meaning, much deeper. And then I invite you to ask, what if I overimpose the hero's journey, the quest that is at the core of every great story ever told? It comes as thanks to the interpretation of Joseph Campbell, an American scholar who studied all religions, all cultures, and discovered that the hero's journey, the journey of transformation of each individual, follows different steps. If you like Star Trek or any adventure movie, that story is based in those steps. So there is a call to adventure, there is a refusal of the call, there is finally something personal that happens to the hero and he or she commits. Now we're in the struggle. Now we have to identify who are the friends, the enemies, the shapeshifters. You go into battle, you might lose, then you have to figure out how to win. You have to rescue the princess or the emeralds or kill the dragon. That's related to how you basically deal with your ego. And you have a path to resurrection. So it's pretty much an adventure in which you go to battle, you might almost die, but you live to tell the story, you live to tell the lesson. So overlaying that other lens, the mythical lens, is also tremendously beneficial. So I offer you in that chapter the opportunity to do the flat lifeline, in which you say, okay, what were the phases of my life? What did I learn? What was good? What was bad? What made me this way? Then you can interpret the process to the four stages, and then you can see if it can go deeper. And this puts you in the position to make better decisions in the future, because the book is an invitation to design your next breakthrough. If you're young, you can really embrace the goals that you set in the imagine stage and launch yourself forward, pulled by desire. Desire will pull you forward. If you're not so young, you can find out exactly how specific can you be to balance achievement with fulfillment. How is it going to be in the future for you? What is the ideal day, the ideal week, the ideal lifestyle? How can I find tremendous joy because I designed the way forward? This is a luxury uh, granted to few people in the world. I'm privileged. I say so in the very first pages of the book. And I'm privileged to be able to be an agent of optimism. I sell optimism. I'm the person who facilitates the connection between desire and achievement, between what is and what can be. And in the future, I'd like to enlarge the platform, thanks to the concept on this book, to use media and other means and interactions with people who will be qualified and will be ambitious enough to try to define a bigger playing field, and for more people, for people who typically do not have the opportunity to design their life, who people who do not have the ability to understand what's going on with their life, and that they might be limited or pessimistic or blocked. Seeing the glass as full and a half is a creative act, is a mental operation, is an intentional design. And I see this type of creative act both as a right and a responsibility. But I think that is more important than that is a need. It's a human need. So we might have to conquer the right to do something. We might have to work for it, but we can always try to fulfill the human need. And imagination, curiosity in action, for me, is the first stage. The second is, how do I realize it? If not alone, with whom? And then once I get what I want, how can I figure out the way that the world around me, the world at large, can be better because I'm doing this. So I become a contributor, and I do it joyfully, not just because of duty or guilt or a sense of mission that is self-sacrificial. For me, as an Epicurean, it's part of my personality. I always want to find out, how is it going to be joyful? Because I know that it's going to be much easier for me to fulfill my commitments and do better things and bigger things that way. So it goes to the core of training. If we go back to improve, second stage that I describe in the book, the process of defining a new ritual or a habit follows these aspects that have been very well defined in recent books, like The Power of Habit or Atomic Habits. That is, you need a trigger, you need some situation of time and place and a certain action that gets you going. Then you need to find a way to make a game out of doing what you need to do so you enjoy it. And then you need a reward, because that's the only way to crave the next time that you need to do it or you want to do it. So I need to align the trigger with the routine, with the reward. And that's what I'm so adamant about. How am I going to enjoy this? My friends know that the word game appears very often in my life. And that's why in the book, I also align my life as a tennis pro and what I learned teaching tennis, even without words. How do you persuade someone to do something well just by looking at movement? Do like me, now do like me, now do like me, and then do it again and again because they want to, because it's fun, because they have success, and in a short period of time. So how do you create success in a short period of time and then you do it for life? Is a beautiful game. It's a beautiful mental and emotional game, and it's something that we can apply to anything and everything. So I know that the military training involves a lot of this micro-tasking, gamification, and rewards, and they get to engage people very young, very inexperienced, doing extraordinary things. So why not us? Why not us daily? Why not us? Because we want to, and because it benefits what I have envisioned, what I have imagined as my 300% goal on stage one. Is the design of my life, right? So this is the core of the book, and it's completed by two chapters. Chapter 11 is the process to design your breakthrough blueprint. I decided that I need to be very clear at the beginning, in the first 10 chapters, about the what, the why, and the how, but the how had to be now intertwined with a workbook that it's a self-study guide, although in the course that I created, I follow step by step. So you can do it by chunks, you can do it by segments. You can create a sense of timing, not necessarily rush through it because it's very profound. You might be able to create a significant transformation through this process. It's based on questions. It's based on questions that cannot be answered by yes or no. I'm going to make you think. And I think it's a good exercise to put together something that might be a luxury for some. First having time to think, then having time to think transformational thoughts, and for many, really converted into design of your life. So the second aspect is that once you know how you're going to create your peak performance blueprint, how are you going to arrive to the transformation, chapter 12 deals with how are you going to share your message to the world. If you need to recruit others, if you have in your hands the power and the opportunity and the means to create a movement, for example, of positive transformation, how are you going to let others know? It requires clarity. It requires a step-by-step approach. It requires that you are able to explain it to someone like to a 5-year-old, and that they might have to run with it. In many cases, you create something and they take it, and with your permission, they develop it in their country, in the region, and they might make it even better. That's how typically things work, no? So people, if you train them to be creative, they will be creative, given the conditions and the persistence. So you might really be creating something big. So it's very important to be clear from the beginning for yourself, and this workbook deals with that. So we have the book, we have the two workbooks which belong to chapters 11 and 12, and I put everything together in two courses. So if you want to have the companionship on the web, you have it, because then it also gives you a sense of timing, that you can go from chapter to chapter, face to face, and I do not suggest any particular duration to finish this, but let's say that after a couple of weeks, maybe a month, you know exactly what you're going to do. This is a process that I have used over the years with executives when I coach them individually, and also with athletes, because as you probably know, when you are coaching an athlete, you do it in relation to the peak performance moment, which is the competition. They might want to peak at a certain time. They might be focused on winning a world championship. This helmet that you see here is Pietro Fittipaldi's helmet. Is a gift to me after we collaborated in 2017, when he had 6 weeks to win the world championship of Formula Renault 3.5. Otherwise, he would not have had a path to Formula One. Today, he's a Formula One pilot with Team Haas. Also races Indy, and he races endurance with LMP2 cars. All this happened because we had a process. We had a process for 6 weeks for a specific topic, a specific moment in his life, becoming world champion. And then afterwards, for each segment, each category, and each portion of the calendar uh, till today. And the same thing with his brother Enzo in Formula 4, becoming champion in 2018. Now he will run Indy, he will race Indy Lights. And there are other athletes connected to this process as well. So it is a way of segmenting the tasks. It is a way of declaring myself in training, and it is a way of aligning 4 important factors that I think lead to a chapter that ends the book. It's called Legacy, because if I align achievement with fulfillment, if I don't have to win, or I don't have to be rich, or I don't have to get what I want to be happy or to be fulfilled, now if I say, as I achieve, I feel fulfilled, because my family is, because my friends are, because my company reflects that, as we win, we're fulfilled. We also celebrate it. When I align those 2 factors, I find meaning. I start to find meaning in what I do, because everything I do is suddenly significant, and people tell me. So I align achievement with fulfillment, meaning, and I might be able to start pointing towards a legacy. So what am I leaving behind? This is a type of thought that emerges as I walk through this spiral of achievement, fulfillment, and significance on my way from imagine, improve, inspire, and ignite. Many people who are at the ignite level, they say, I have achieved everything I wanted, so now what? And then now what becomes, okay, maybe I can build a path for others to follow. So I thought it was very important, since I had clients in very significant dilemmas and in very interesting situations with great opportunities, but they were never able to figure this out by themselves. They felt blocked, they felt locked out by their prior success, which they did not want to repeat. I focus on legacy, and I give you examples of great legacies, especially family companies. Never easy to do over decades and generations, but they figure it out. They're a great example. I work with some of them, and it really addresses the why, the what, and the how, and also with whom. It becomes very important. So I invite you to read The Glass is Full and a Half. It's available on Amazon. It's also available in my website. You can see saluminternational.com, and the section where you find the information for the book is /bookshelf. So saluminternational.com/bookshelf. And now I have also the offering for the online leadership breakthrough workshop. I will be adding more. Before the end of the year, there will be more courses also for sports training, since I'm coaching very talented and very young athletes in different sports who are achieving great results. So the story continues, and it continues with your story. I will be offering you an opportunity to join the Circle Executive Club and network internationally with people like you, and effectively become a breakthrough leader, a breakthrough thinker, who can achieve extraordinary results. Thank you very much.